we are recording.
Okay, so the dredging subgroup meeting is starting at 6:06. We'll take attendance. I am here. Paul?
Paul Bone here.
Keith Hannon.
Jeff Quick.
Celia Kay?
Okay. So let's, the minutes of the meeting of February 18th. Do we have any questions, comments? Or do we, willing to accept those minutes?
Great job.
Anybody want to make a motion to accept the minutes?
I will make a motion to accept those minutes.
Second.
Okay, so, and so do we all agree? I vote yes, I agree.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, okay, so the minutes of February 18th, 2024 are accepted
As written.
as written. Do we have any public comments? I don't see anything. Do you, Delia?
I don't.
Okay. Then we will move on. What was the first item on the agenda? Was it the,
Solitude bid.
yeah, so Solitude. So I spoke with Solitude. They're mainly a pond management group. I talked to the salesman, and I talked to him because Bill had talked to him about the pond management end of things, and he wanted to hear about the dredging. So I spoke with him about that. And initially I was, pretty interested, until he kept talking, and, and I said, hey, let me, can you let us know, where you've dredged before and send us some information, and crickets, nothing. So, Bill is still dealing with him. Or talked with him a couple of times about the pond management, and another group as well. So I don't think we're going to be moving forward with anything from him. If we do, I mean, I'll certainly, if I get any information, I'll certainly share it, but I'm not anticipating anything from him. So that's that.
I mean, we would probably need to share the RFI level of detail with them, right? I mean, that's a little
Yeah,
late.
I offered that, or he would like that, but I mean, I asked him those questions first, and he didn't. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't think we have the time at this point to wait and get that there and then answer questions and then try to incorporate it into what we have. We need to get it all finalized way before the meeting occurs, so.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we'd incorporate any of that into what we're presenting. It'd be
You
just in
like it just for
addition.
informational purposes?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think if they, legitimately do hydraulic dredging and have done that in the state of Massachusetts and can provide examples of half dozen projects that they've completed in the past few years, then and they're offering a free estimate, then I would say great. And I don't think it needs to wait. It would come after the public, the community meeting, but I'm not surprised that you haven't heard anything on projects that they've completed that. So if you get that, then
And I'll share that, and we'll go.
yeah, I would say you could move forward with asking them for a free quote, but unless they have the experience doing it, I don't see any value in it.
They did
We would
offer
probably
a
just
free quote.
sub it all out, but yeah.
Okay. It was worth a conversation.
Mhm.
So, all right. And I don't have the agenda in front of me. What was next? Was it just going into our presentation?
Yeah, the presentation. Yep. Yep.
So
So I can share, I sent something around. I didn't have a whole lot of time to work on it because our meeting changed. But Paul made some really good edits to what I had initially sent. So this is Paul's version, which is up on our, Google Drive. And I just sent out the link.
I looked
really-
at that, a few comments as well as we go.
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, good. So, front page.
I think
Yeah, I mean, just a question off the bat, is CBI going to take these and format these? Or do we have to worry about form? I put this picture in there because I like pictures, but
Yeah.
I presume they're gonna format all these similarly, yeah?
I wouldn't presume that. They're
Ah.
really, we've run through their contract and they don't have a lot of money left. And so I think we'll get it into the shape that we feel comfortable presenting. I think this looks terrific, what you've done.
well, I would just I think we should discuss this image. Isn't this EA's image of what it's going to look post dam removal?
Yeah, it was just one I had.
Yeah, I think we
Well,
need
it's not EA's
no.
image.
No, this
To
is
be
this is
clear,
not
it's
the
not
dam.
EA's image. It was their sub-consultant that came up with this.
This is the dredge. This isn't the dam removal. This is the dredge.
well
Mhm.
EA's was in their EA's report, so
Correct.
so I'm calling it EA's image, so they own it for this contract. But whatever. I mean, I just think we need to swap it out personally
Yeah.
Why?
It was a handy photo.
because it's an image of what was being presented post dam removal. It's very confusing.
This
No.
is not the dam removal image. This is the
the
dredging.
dredge. This is a dredge.
So,
Anyway, you're right. You're right.
They didn't do renderings for post dredging.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
What? That's what this is?
Correct.
That's the one I pulled. But
can I ask a
Keith,
question? Is this
Yeah.
a rendering or is this a photo?
That's a
It's a
rendering.
It's a
Rendering.
rendering.
So how about if we get a photo?
yeah,
Well, we don't have, I mean, what's nice about this is that it depicts what we anticipate the dredging condition will look like. That's what this is. And we don't have a photo of what we think dredging will look like. So I think this puts the dredging proposal in a very positive light.
I don't think there's any harm in this if we attribute it correctly, Keith. And
That's
yeah.
fine. I just don't remember in the alternatives analysis report the renderings for dredging. That's all. But if that's
Yeah.
really what this is from, that's fine. We just, if anyone asks, I think we just need to understand what it is. Yeah.
So I have a question more for the planning group. So if you fast forward to the forum and the three groups are getting up there, I think it would be embarrassing if the three groups, if it all looked different. We should get this, somebody should get all these in the same format.
You know something, I agree with that, Paul. And I actually, Delia, thought that we were going to have basically a similar format for the proposals.
They should at least look the same. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah,
that means
I mean, we can
photo.
ask and see, or we can just we have time. We can all use the same backgrounds kind of thing and use the same fonts, but if CBI is able to do that, then I agree it would be best to have them look consistent. I don't think it's a huge, our groups are working.
I don't know if we need EA to even do it. We can just share this.
I'm sorry, not EA, if I said EA,
Yeah,
I meant CBI.
Sorry. Well, either, but I think probably share this as a template with the other groups. It's pretty easy to just swap out the content.
and actually, I thought we agreed that we would all have the same like format. We'd have our proposal, we would have
Right, I think we agreed on the content of the
content
slides,
of it all.
not how it necessarily looks on the screen.
Well, but for example, if you go back to the template, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each one of those has this title.
Right,
So each of the slides should have that title.
correct.
I'm a stickler on format because I want to look like we're a group as opposed to
Yeah,
three
Yes.
rogue outfits,
And I also think it's important that we all know that we only have about, 10 to 15 minutes, for that proposal. And so, for any one of us to go off task, so to speak, I think would be
Yeah.
inappropriate. So I think we
Mhm.
just all need to be of the same agreement as to how we're making these presentations as well.
I think we have time to do that. I didn't want to
Yeah.
hijack this discussion on that.
Right.
I do have a question though. Should we, list the people who are in the subgroup on the title slide? Does that matter? Does the audience want to know who is here? I mean, which people did this?
That's usually what we would do for a presentation. Oops.
Yeah,
I think it's
so
a good
I would
idea.
add that. I would add the subgroup members on this.
All right, let me get out of this mode and get into an editing.
So while you're doing that, Delia, I
Mhm.
also want to share what we talked about in our last planning meeting about the format of the meeting. So initially, we had talked about having the meeting that we would have, the opening, and then we'd have a presentation for 10 or 15 minutes, and then Q&A for 10 or 15 minutes. Then you'd go on to the next group, same thing, next group, same thing. And then we talked about having small groups. Well, in the last meeting, we decided that we were going to leave it open to Q&A to the whole group, so that any questions that are asked from the audience or comments that are made, that the whole group is present to hear that, instead of breaking into smaller groups. So it's one big forum. Now, in doing so, that will make it hard for probably a lot of people to ask questions, but we'll have about an hour or so, 45 minutes to an hour to do that. And then the last maybe 10, 15 minutes, we would close, and basically people, if they have any questions or comments that weren't asked or addressed, they can write them on a sticky note and put them up on the wall, which we will collect afterwards and share with the whole task force. And then that will offer an opportunity for people to, if they want to go one-on-one with a group or whatever, to do that for about maybe like 10 or 15 minutes. But most of the meeting will be one big group. It will be one big group.
For the few minutes at the end for an open house.
So I don't know what you guys think
Yeah.
about that, but
I think it's a lot better. It's
Yeah, I agree.
good. I do too. I think it's just more informative for us as a task force, so that when we go back to deliberate on all of this stuff, we've all heard from everybody who spoke.
it's
and
also
all the
it's also
responses.
way easier logistically.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I just added these names with the 3 voting members first and the non-voting members second, and then just alphabetically.
Oh,
Can you see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Good,
Okay, good.
yeah.
good.
So let me just explain the colors. The orange is things that I added. Those are just added. So I just
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if we're still referring it to the base proposal. It was certainly the original.
Right.
So-
I think that's how it's referenced in the proposal.
Yeah, okay. Good.
We okay with all those words?
I think you need it for this slide. I don't love a lot of words on slides. And Paul, when you give the presentation, just don't read from the slide.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, people can read the words and you can just frame it in a different format.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that, for the poster that we will develop, we can include a lot of this information so that people can see it again on the poster, and then include like the geotubes image, and then whatever things, people also want to include.
So I flipped the slides because we're talking about 3 alternatives. I thought that, rather than talk about the North Field, the next one, we should probably talk, look at the next, the Keith's.
Yeah.
Keith's.
This
building.
makes, right, this makes perfect sense how you have it realigned.
Yeah, no, I like it as well.
So if you go to that one, I changed the title a little bit. Instead of just 3 proposed areas, I said why 3 proposed areas.
Mhm.
Mhm.
and I just added, I think those are the two main ones, right? More open water, more sediment nutrient removal.
Yes, that
There
was
may be-
good.
There are probably other ones, but that takes care of a lot of.
I would say instead of more sediment nutrient removal, I would say more sediments, plant biomass removal.
Nutrient-rich sediments. That's what we have in our proposal.
Is it plant biomass? I thought it was more phosphorus removal. It's
I mean, yes and no, but you're never gonna get to a phosphorus level in the ponds that,
no, I'm not saying that, but it's more, just more.
but more areas that are free of invasives. I think that's key.
Well, that was why I said more open water. That was the part of it.
Okay,
Well, I guess it's a little confusing because it's all open water technically. Maybe you want to say deeper water.
Well, it's more plant-free water, more, more invasives-free water. Right?
Yeah.
what about more water free of invasives? I mean, I don't,
Yeah. I didn't want to add a lot of words, but that's actually actually true.
I can format this later. I'm not good in the Google. There it is.
I mean, it's a busy slide, but I think there's a lot going on there, and I think it's appropriate.
I think
Yeah,
picture tells a good story. I mean, as we said, it's, maybe not, it's clearly not exact, but it gives people a sense of where it would possibly occur.
mm-hmm,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the best explanation for 9 to 12, but I thought we need to add something there. Increase. Is that the best way of quickly saying that?
Yeah, maybe resilient, but I'm thinking more like you're probably gonna write it. Yeah, long term. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep, yes.
Yeah.
So in the
So
rationale, it
I
says,
just explain this. I added this one to it, the whole NMI Starman. Not that it will come into play, but I think
mm-hmm,
that was worth stating that we've actually made contact across entities, and
I think that's really important.
so my question I like it too. My question is, it says can be expected to provide greater open water access and ecological benefits in the summer. Do we need to say in the summer? Because we
No,
didn't say it anywhere in our report.
nope, take that out.
And so actually another thing that we do have in our report, it says to provide greater open water access and ecological benefits and recreational functions. Actually it was more of restoring ecological benefits and recreational functions. So maybe we can add just recreation in there as well. Or maybe just recreation and ecological benefits.
Is that what you're thinking? That doesn't sound quite right to me.
Access and benefits don't quite jive.
Right.
Right, for
Right.
recreation as well as, and, yeah.
Access for.
maybe the ecological benefits is its own bullet, but you know, I've split this into 2 slides, so you can move one of these bullets to the next slide. If it's too many words.
Yeah, it is gonna be too many words, I think, on this. So let's take this.
Yeah, put that one, see if that fits at the top of the next slide or the bottom of this slide.
Oh, shoot.
I think we'll just put it here because it's
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
a moot point, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, to Keith's comment last, it's not moot until the task force renders it moot, right?
Yeah,
Right.
Not even the task force, the town.
Well, yeah, I mean, task force has to make a recommendation that
Right.
unmoots it.
all right. How is this big enough for people to see?
I don't know.
I mean, for you guys on the call.
Yes.
Okay,
Overall, yeah, it's a little truncated, but that hasn't been a problem.
okay.
It doesn't fit on the whole. There it is.
Yeah, okay. So dredging is a reliable approach to. Wait, just shorten this.
Yes.
To provide, yeah.
Yes.
To provide, yeah.
Then uncapitalize the next, but now we said provide, provide, provide.
You,
Okay. Do you want them capitalized or lowercase?
I think lowercase is fine.
Okay.
I mean, are people okay with the 3 provides?
Well, you could,
Well, yeah,
Oh, you could say, just put that up here, right?
Yeah.
whoops, no. Can't do
Provide,
that.
no,
No, it won't work either.
Well, synonyms for provide is allow. You could
Allow
allow,
for.
provide. No, I'm saying.
no,
I don't think.
Sorry.
I think leave it at 2, and just change the words from provide to allow in one of those. I personally am not too hung up on that.
Yeah,
We'll
that's,
find-
I guess that's a school teacher and me, Paul,
Yeah, we'll find another synonym. I'll go to the.
the source.
Well, now you got them all allow.
I know, well,
Forget
I
it.
don't want to allow eutrophication.
We're gonna go to the.
Thesaurus.
I think you had just. Oh, we were talking about these synonyms. I should have looked them up. Why don't we let those go for now? We can
Okay,
figure that out.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that at some point, somewhere in this, we need to talk about or add in dam reclassification. Or maybe you'll just mention that in your presentation, Paul.
what comes after costs? I apologize, I hadn't had a chance to really look at these before the meeting. Is there a slide that can fit? Like other considerations or something?
It comes after that. Well, it wasn't other considerations. It was
It's really part of the project, really, isn't it?
risks and uncertainties.
Maybe you could slip it up there and earlier describing the project. I don't know. Yeah, could put that
I think
right.
I would put it into, I would say that's a benefit. I'd put it in the rationale,
Okay,
put it here. Or
Yeah.
you could put it on this slide, but I could make that language text bigger.
yeah, I put it on the next one, since it's sort
Next
of,
one.
yeah.
Reclassify the dam
Yeah,
or, or dam reclassification, or whatever you want to say.
Do you think
Is
that's
that-
It's a good one.
actually accurate if you're increasing the volume of water being held by the dam? That you could get to a lower hazard?
that's interesting. So you're saying that with the sediment removal,
It's, no,
that
it's
it's a
more,
greater volume of water that would be retained? I mean,
it's a
it's,
good- it's a good question, but it's really based on the downstream, what's downstream. And there it's, and the safe, the condition of the dam. So right now it's deemed in pretty good condition, and downstream there isn't a significant amount of life loss. And in
yeah,
addition,
so it's two things. It is the downstream potential of property or life loss, and then the condition of the dam.
right,
But I think what I understand from your question, I mean, that's an interesting question, Jeff. I hadn't thought about that. This would be, and maybe we need to say this, potential, so ability to evaluate the dam for reclassification to low hazard, because it's not that there has to be some study that goes along with it. Does that address your comment,
Yeah, that,
Jeff?
yeah,
Well, I'm trying to think about the physics of this. Isn't the forces on the dam, aren't they right adjacent to the dam, the depth and the pressure on the dam? So why would dredging further upstream affect
Well, I don't think we need to debate that.
No, I'm just wondering, I don't,
You're the engineer, Jeff.
yeah.
I'm the architect, not the engineer.
Okay,
We do have a dam at Norfolk where we ran into a similar problem. The culvert was actually failing.
Uh.
And part of the thing we looked at was if we took that dam out, and you're right, you have to look at what the effect would be downstream. And it just depends on how far downstream you have to go to appease the dam safety group that would review that. But if you're lowering the level of that pond, you're going to increase the volume of water that it can retain. So those calculations have to come into effect when you're calculating out what the damage would be if the dam failed downstream of that.
yeah, okay.
So are we okay with this?
Yeah. You can make all this white.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So do we have a final table?
Yes, yes and no. So yes, we do, but Toby just made some comments on it, and I know that Keith and I haven't had a chance to chat about it yet, about his comments. So yes, I think we have a final table.
Okay, I mean, I saw Jeff had, I understand there's some. And we can talk, maybe we should just get through the rest of the last slide here. Or the last two slides and then come back to the costs.
Yes.
Okay,
But that's your plural chemicals. Yeah, this is a comment to the larger task force. I think PFAS is part of it. But I for one don't think PFAS is the only potential issue. It could be others. So
why do we even need to reference it specifically? I think that,
yeah, I'm with you on that. I think there was some some energy in the task force for keeping it in there, so I don't have any
Yeah.
objection to putting him in there, so.
I'm pretty sure we agreed at the last meeting with everyone that we were gonna actually take that out. Sven
Did
seemed
we?
okay with that.
Yeah, and we were gonna just say hazardous chemicals.
Yeah, okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's take out PFAS. Yeah. Yep. Potential hazardous chemicals unknown. I think it's just unknown. Yeah.
Should we say that the impact of them is unknown or just the potential hazardous chemicals?
Well, it's the impact on the dredging, so potential
Uh,
hazardous chemical impact on dredging unknown. Maybe that's
Well, maybe we should say potential future hazardous, because right now there isn't really much in there that's considered hazardous that hasn't been accounted for.
I think it's less likely that there's gonna be hazardous chemicals than it is historic buildup.
Well, I'm just saying if something like PFAS does actually become an issue in the future, it still accounts for that if you just say potential future impacts unknown.
I think this relates to the fact that we have to do sediment sampling again, and we don't know what those numbers are gonna be. So this is.
So why not say that? Potential unknown from needed, oops. From necessary additional sediment sampling?
It's potential hazardous chemical levels from additional sampling.
The testing, potential hazardous chemical testing.
Chemical, well, yeah, it's really the levels of those chemicals. I think that's fine. You know, somebody has a question, we can explain it.
This is not, this doesn't make sense.
It's actually required testing. Yes, it's in the future, but it's not like 2 years down the road. It's part of permitting, yeah. I'd leave it like
We say
that.
sampling,
From required, yeah. Well, sampling and testing, yeah, sure.
okay.
I don't,
Oh, sampling and testing unknown, you said, Paul?
yeah, literally true.
Okay.
Mhm.
I don't know the exact words to describe the uncertainties and the cost estimates, but I give a shot here. They're informed, but they're rough estimates.
Mhm.
Right.
We're not just making them up, we're not guessing, they're informed. So.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah. And that the other ideas, consider the next slide. I just added, rather than just have those two bullets,
Mhm.
just the minimum words, why we reject them. I don't know if that's the best description of side channel.
I think maybe side channel could be more like, in looking at what we wrote, it says revealed concerns about the volume and quality of water that would remain in Warner's Pond if it were separated from the Neshoba Brook, and whether such a project would be permissible, among other concerns. So maybe something along the lines of concerns about volume and quality of remaining water.
Well,
There was the engineering of the dikes, there was the resilience to flooding. There are a lot of issues there. I don't know.
yeah, I would throw it, I mean, the maintenance is a concern, like really increasing the lengths of essentially dikes, dams needing maintenance.
Okay. And I think one more thing about the 14,000 dredge. I agree with the insufficient removal and restoration. Really, there was going to be nothing removed. It was just just put somewhere else.
Mhm.
So really, it's the dredge would be left in pond. So there's no removal. So dredge would be left in pond. Something like that.
Was that, I forget, was that all of the 14,000 was gonna remain in the pond?
Yep.
Huh.
So we're not gaining anything by doing that, really. That looks good,
Doesn't, yeah, it doesn't meet the goals.
right?
Okay. So if we can go back to the costs, I saw something from Jeff on
30% design.
yes. So it sounds like there's discussion amongst a small group, and maybe Chris and Keith, you guys are on that group, if you can just talk a little bit about, where things are. The task force on the 11th had discussion about whether or not to include costs, and I think it's a little bit gray on where they landed. I mean, I think I initially thought that the task force had decided that we were not including, sunk costs. I think that's what we were calling them, past costs. But if you go back to the tape and you listen to it, I think there's a little bit of an uncertainty about that. And Keith, as I understand it, you're interested in having the 30% dam removal design included as a current cost. And
Or at least accounted for. Like the compromise I offered was at least list it as part of the tables, but don't necessarily add it to the total. It can be accounted for. Because it is not, in my opinion, a sunk past cost. It's very current, just coincidentally occurring during the task force. But it's part of 100% design cost. It's step one of 100% design process, which is but that's the compromise I offered. So I just think it can be listed as because people are going to jump to the cost table and they're not going to read it in the text where the dam removal group suggested they could just add it in the text of the proposal. If people go to the cost, some people might not even read the full proposal. So people just want to look at the numbers. So I think it's a significant cost that has been incurred that definitely is part of the dam removal process.
And what about all the other costs that have been incurred throughout through the dredging and prior to the dredging, the watershed management plan and, all of the, work that's gone, like, what about those costs? How did they get captured?
It was in my original list of past dredging costs, but I think we agreed to take those out because people didn't want to do past costs. So I said, that's fine. But the 30%.
Yeah, I mean, I think it gets, I personally, and, I know you guys as a subgroup are, talking about this, but I think it does kind of relate to our discussion. I mean, to me, it seems to make the most sense to make the clearest, table to have what the costs are moving forward. And what about if you had like a separate table and you said, this is what the watershed management plan costs, this is what the dredging feasibility study costs, this is what the 100%, whatever, if you included all those costs, I mean, the dam removal design is a sunk cost because the town, that money's spent as far as the town is concerned. We haven't spent every penny of the contract, but it is a spent cost. So what if you just took all of those, sunk costs or whatever they're, you want to call them and put them in a separate table to say, these are costs that have been incurred over the years as part of the evaluation of trying to get to, a resolution to solving the problems at Warner's Pond.
I'm totally fine with that. I just think it needs to be part of the cost table.
Does it make sense to have it be not included? Because do you include the watershed management plan across the three tables? you know, does it make sense to include it as a standalone table for separate, you know, already incurred costs?
At first thought, I think it would. I don't know
Okay.
if this has
What do
any
you-
thoughts on that.
I mean, I don't have any objection to doing that, other than I'm not sure how it informs the decision going forward. Either the task force decision or the public's decision, what the sunk costs are, because it's a bit of a it's a little bit like eating peanuts. You know, where do you stop? I mean, we've sunk costs into dredging, right? Dredging feasibility, alternatives analysis. Why relitigate those
Well,
costs?
But a lot of that was done like for the previous dredging project that didn't happen. So
Right.
a lot of that work has to be redone anyways. So that to me is like a sunk cost. So I'm not sure we need to actually account for all of those past dredging costs. It's the 30% design for dam removal is quite unique from that. It doesn't really sit well with me to somehow bury those costs when this is like an active, ongoing project. And the work that was done for that is going to inform 100% design, which is in their cost table. It's part of the 100% design. It doesn't really matter to me if it was previously spent. It's an outlying exception to the sunk cost analysis, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to like game the system here. I
No,
just think needs to be accounted for.
I understand. Is that the only item of all the various items across the board? Is that the only one that you consider part of the future project that would have to be done anyway?
Well, that's what I'm definitely saying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it sounds reasonable to me. It's not, but it's
If it hadn't been done now, it wouldn't have to be done in the future.
yeah. No, I understand.
It's not like an optional thing.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you can do different stages of design, right? You can
30%
do
is very common. It's
yeah,
like
so it's
that
25,
one.
so it's a 10%, you know, so it's a 50, 75, but you don't do all stages of design. You sort of pick where you want to go, sort of
Well,
to understand.
100% design includes 30, 60, 90, 100.
Not necessarily.
Well, there's assumptions here. It could. I mean, it depends
It
what
could, but I'm just saying that's not necessarily how projects get designed. They can
that,
go that path, but it's not a requirement.
that level of detail is not being accounted for. So, I mean, you can definitely assume the 30% design would be part of the future project because it just happened. We just
Well,
paid.
right, and we did that because at the time that we entered into that contract, we had momentum and understanding from the public meetings and the survey, and this is where, you know, the town was interested in proceeding, so it made sense to go for a 30% design. And also an additional cost for the Atera analysis, which is not typical of a 30% design. Right, to get the additional information on the channel geometry. So, you know, like with the dredging, we had a preliminary design and then we went to 100%. We didn't do 30, 60, or 30, 60, 90. We didn't do that.
So if we didn't have that 30% design for dam removal, how would we have gotten the cost for dam removal for the subgroup?
We would have had to have some sort of similar conceptual design as we developed for the Northfield analysis. And, you know, it's a little hard to say, Chris, because we had the benefit of having the 100% dredge design plans, which we slightly modified to increase the depth from 9 to 12 feet, and obviously changed the disposal and dewatering location. So I don't know. I mean, we would have to have wrestled over how that, you know, dam removal group would have come up with their cost estimate.
I guess I'm not really sure why we're talking about this in the dredging group, to be honest. This is something we're supposed to be
Yeah.
hashing with the smallest fact-checking subgroup and working with the dam removal group to figure this out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well, because
Reason
Jeff
that we're-
asked, Jeff
yeah,
asked, that's
he
why.
did. He sent an email about 4:30. And he
Well,
said that, since he
Not
goes,
on the, but it's not on the, but it's not on the agenda, so I
Yeah.
mean, we're not really supposed to be talking about it, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, it's, okay, I'm gonna split hairs, but it is part of our proposal. That's part of our cost table.
What do you mean our, who are you talking about, our cost table?
So I don't know what our final cost table is supposed to include. Is it going to include past costs? Or are you just looking to have the past costs for the dam removal? I don't understand. So what does our cost table include?
Oh, it's changed, but right now. The
It-
past costs were removed.
Okay. I mean, if our costs are staying as we have discussed and understood them to be, then I don't think we need to discuss further. But if you guys want to, have the thought or discussion around, each group has a cost chart, for their proposal, and then we have a separate chart, which I agree that it doesn't really inform the task force in decision making, but if it's helpful to have that from a, transparency perspective that you think is important, Keith, then have it as a separate table.
I think transparency is very important, and it does affect.
I
still
do
cost
too.
decisions. Or
Okay.
decisions around cost in the future. It definitely could be relevant.
I think it's also important if you're going to include past costs, like
But I'm
the
not calling them,
watershed manage.
I'm not calling 30% past costs. That's where I seem to be very different from everyone. It really is like a third category of being quite current. But I don't think we need to get in, we really shouldn't be talking about it
Yeah,
too much, to be honest.
I think we should finish that.
If it doesn't affect
conversation.
our cost table, then I think that it's best discussed with the small group reconciliation group.
Okay. All right. Um,
so
are we?
do we have a presentation, sort of?
So I would suggest that people, I only sent it out, I think, yesterday, and then you had some comments on it today, Paul. So I would suggest that people take some time to have a look at it, and then if there are, edits or thoughts or changes that people want to make, then we can reconvene on it. But if people are good with it, then we can go with that and see if CBI can fold it into a, sort of harmonious presentation with the other ones.
I'm not likely to make any major changes, so I would assume small, minor edits. We don't need to reconvene, right?
How are you feeling, Paul, about all this? What do you want from us?
No, this looks good. I'm just wondering, should we have extra slides which show the geotubes, for example? Is there going to be some curiosity or some question
That's a
that we
good,
could refer back to, something visual that might help us? Just think about the question that might come up and what we want to visually show. I wouldn't add any word slides with any other photos. Are there other North Field photos that?
Mhm. Yep.
I put a few.
Yeah,
North
we've got the
Field-
testing locations, we've got the EA graphics that show the topography. I can,
We need that. I do think the geotubes one is a really good slide to put in there, Paul. I agree with you. It's very self-explanatory as to how that would work, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it would just help and facilitate the answering questions, and not sure what else would come up other than show me a picture of dredging, but we talked about that. I think we're okay.
So we can add that one into where, so do you want to put that within the slide presentation?
No, I'd have Yeah, I'd have extra slides. I'd add 2 or 3 slides at the end. I wouldn't clog up the presentation with it.
Okay,
I can put them at the end after questions, so.
Yeah, because we're not really discussing any of the technology within the main body. It's not part of a proposal per se.
no. I think we're presenting these concepts and we're looking for feedback. I think they want to see the concept and the dollars. Or estimated dollars.
And what about for this poster? I mean, the more images we have, the better for a poster. But I think we talked about last time, adding a lot of images we just discussed, plus the cost table and maybe listing the goals or something.
Mhm.
That's something I could probably throw together pretty quickly also on, I guess, Google's presentation, what's it called? Slides or whatever? I don't know.
I've started something in Publisher.
Oh, okay.
It's very preliminary, so, you know, if you wanna just go with it, that's fine, but I don't mind continuing, but I'm like, I've put like one slide, it's the GO2 photo, so that's it. So, it's up to you.
In the new meeting format, where we don't have breakouts, so what's the role of the posters?
So there'll be a 15-minute open house at the end.
Okay.
And I expect that people will come early and it will be helpful to have, you know, what I was sort of envisioning is a lot of images, like you say, Keith, the goals and the cost table. And, you know, if we wanted to have like the rationale, the benefits, I think that would be useful. And I'm happy to just throw something together, and I guess we'd have to have another meeting to review it, but saying we have time. We have a month before the public hearing or the forum.
Is it set to 24 by 36 resolution? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that could be shared with us, then I'd be happy to jump in there as well and add
Okay,
images.
it's not an issue. I mean, give me like,
Oh yeah, no rush, I guess. So when it's ready to share.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, the forum dates again, the forum date again is what?
April.
April 3rd.
Okay. I got so many dates in my calendar, it's crazy.
Put that one in red bold.
Got it.
What time did we say it was? 7?
So it's 7, you know, we'll have Minutemen Media there setting up. So I told them to be there at 6, because I get anxious about
Yeah,
technology.
no, that's good. Yeah, no, I meant for the public. They're coming. We're starting at 7.
Yeah, so I would anticipate people start showing up earlier than that. You know,
Sure.
we'll have the boards up. That'll be an opportunity for people to, you know, take a look at the boards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Anything
Just
else?
one last question. Do you anticipate questions on sort of the previous dredging proposal? And I would present this straight up without kind of referring to what happened before, although we do have the original, you know, 38.5 is the original, so I could kind of say this was the original concept back when. I don't think we have to add anything more to the presentation that refers to that, do you? The past.
No, and if there are questions on it, I mean, I can answer questions on it.
Yeah,
EA will
okay,
be on the call.
Good.
So I wouldn't worry about that, Paul, from the
Yeah.
your presentation standpoint.
I think that'll confuse people. We just need to stay focused on the
Yeah, okay.
the conceptual new plan.
Yep.
Okay.
And our last item on the agenda is public comments. 789 Elm, if you have any comments, please unmute and go for it. Okay, Chris, do your magic.
Okay, so with no further business, we are closing the meeting at 7:15. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thanks,
night.
everyone.
Bye.